Check out that beautiful creature. Guys, we did it. We got Rad Power Bikes to send us their RadRunner Plus. A lot of you had requested this bike a while back. About a year ago, I actually visited their headquarters in Seattle. I got to check out the original, which doesn't come with this passenger package. We got this mocha colored matching like passenger saddle back here. We've got these skirt guards on the side. We got the pegs. We got the fenders. We got the upgraded LCD display versus a little LED one that doesn't show you your speed and some of those other great readouts, max speed, average speed, the lights icon, walk assist. A lot of really cool features with that, including a USB charging port at the bottom, full size, so you can power your phone or maybe additional lights. But you probably don't have to add too many lights because this thing is really set up well. This is their premium headlight. You can see it's got this cool, kind of like a running light encircling the center beam. It looks like a power button. That's kind of the Rad Power Bikes, one of their logos. And then the center beam is super, super, super bright, very aimable, big. It's got these side windows. I really appreciate that. And it's even got this like rock protector, like off-road guard, which you can remove if you don't like the look. It reminded me of like the old, I think they're KC lights. You would see them on pickup trucks occasionally, like the off-roading guys would use those. And you get a 7-speed drivetrain. So for me, this bike, it's about $500 more than the standard RadRunner. It's totally worth it, in my opinion. Like, you just get so much for that money. Now, again, $500 coming from $11.99 USD up to $16.99. That's a significant percentage upgrade. That's, you know, it's 40-something percent. Might not be worth it for everyone. I love that you have the choice. For me, what really puts me over the top, aside from the drivetrain, is the suspension fork. This thing is awesome. I'm really impressed with it considering that this is already like a fat tire bike almost. It's not quite 4-inch wide tires. These are 20 by 3.3 inch. They're custom tires, Rad Power Bikes by Kenda. These are K-Rad. They've got the reflective sidewall stripes. They've got some puncture protection. They got the K-Shield is what they call it. Really nice, and they give you a lot of comfort and float and stability. That width is going to help you if you're on loamy terrain or even sandy terrain. If you lower the air pressure on these, the recommended PSI is 30. Okay, and a lot of times you can go something like 5 to 30. This doesn't say 5. I haven't actually tested it too much off-road, but lowering the pressure a little bit, you're probably okay doing that, and that's going to give you a lot of comfort right there. And then you add 80 millimeters of travel with this suspension fork that has a compression clicker right here. See, you hear it clicking all the way to lockout, hydraulic lockout. And then over here on the left, we've got preload adjust. So you can preload the spring in there for your body weight. I'm a relatively lightweight guy, so I usually just leave it kind of all the way open and I end up with sort of a bouncy ride. This is a spring suspension. It's not air. It's not super fancy. You don't have a rebound adjust, but it's way better than just preload, having compression adjust lockout. That's nice. That's going to give you a ride feel when you're on like paved streets and stuff, when it's just little cracks and you don't really need that longer travel and comfort. You're going to get more efficiency. You're not going to have this bobbing feel, especially if you add a front rack, which connects directly to the steer tube on this thing. Look at this, 4 bolts right there. They have these awesome trays, and then you can put a rack on it, and you can put these insulated bags and stuff. The rear rack, which is set up for a passenger right now, is also compatible with a bunch of accessories. You can bolt them on, or you can use this little, they call it the Yepp window, for a child seat. So you could have a child back here. Very cool. Lots of possibilities. Pannier bags that could hang down the side. Rad has a whole bunch of like water resistant stuff. And they also have a really cool, like RadRunner specific console bucket box thing that fits right here in the middle of the bike. It makes this thing look like a classic motorcycle to me. Very, very cool. So many possibilities. You could store your gear in there and kind of keep it from getting wet and just keep it low and center on the frame, so good weight distribution, but you can get creative with it. And apparently a lot of owners use it to put their pets in there. They'll like put a pad or like a towel at the bottom, and then they'll do like a ride along with their little puppy or kitty or something like that. I think that's super, super creative. These bikes are so much fun, and And I really think the aesthetic of this one is nice with like the silver metallic paint, glossy black accents. You'll notice they've put it right here, sort of on this like mini top tube, and then the seat tube and the main tube or down tube right here, because that's where you might kick the bike when you're getting on, you know, and leave a mark. And so having black, that was smart, that was clever. And we've got these bottle cage bosses, which they secure that optional console bucket, or you could use it for a water bottle or a folding lock. So many possibilities. Super easy to approach this frame and stand over it. But of course, having that low step design, it also compromises frame strength and stiffness. And so they've really gone the extra mile here with this huge gusset right here, this section of aluminum alloy, and then adding that extra tube right here. So the bike doesn't feel flexy. Sometimes, like I've noticed that on other bikes that do that really deep approachable step through design, the handling is compromised. Okay, so, you know, keeping the battery weight low and center right there. They use the same battery as they use for all their other bikes, so it's really modular. Only $499 to replace that thing if you want to, and that's partially because the controller is separate. So if we come over here, you can see the controller right here, fully potted. It's a high power controller, but it's not built into the battery pack itself, which is kind of nice. It separates some of the heat and complexity, and it makes the battery packs about $500 US to replace versus much more expensive on something like the Bosch system, which they have really nice batteries. They have frame integrated batteries, but they're more complex, and, you know, that adds to the cost. So for me, this is kind of a reasonable compromise, and one that they handle well aesthetically. And now there's like this aluminum alloy skid plate along the bottom of the frame too, so it's really well protected. I appreciate that. One thing that's changed about the RadRunner Plus is that this is actually suspension corrected geometry. So the reach is a little bit longer, and the head tube angle and stuff, they designed this thing completely differently. Maybe not completely, but it is a different frame so that it feels comfortable and still handles well with the suspension fork versus like the rigid fork on the standard RadRunner. So that's cool. One of the things that they did change also is, you see that hole right here and then this plate. There used to be like a center stand, and there still is for like the standard RadRunner, whereas this one has a rear mounted kickstand, which I actually like. It works well, it's adjustable length, and doesn't get in the way. It's not going to cause pedal lock or anything like that. I think they've been very thoughtful about like all the decisions on this bike, and for me, it's a lot of fun to explore them. I'm going to call out a couple of the other highlights for me. We've got this tall, tapered, it's like a spacer, right? It raises the stem, really short stem, it kind of angles up, so it's still elevating. Everything's being elevated, so you have a comfortable upright body position. These are like high-rise handlebars with this cross section right here to get the display front and center for you, and just to probably add some strength on the handlebar. These mocha faux leather ergonomic grips that match this saddle, and then that passenger seat here, sort of the banana seat style. But this is really special. This saddle right here, okay? So it's not as long as a traditional saddle, and actually it's kind of limited in adjustability. If you look down here, there's this plate. The saddle itself can't slide forward and back. It doesn't angle up and down. It's really just fixed, and they did that because it interfaces with that rear section like perfectly when we lower it. And I'm going to do that real quick here. I want to point out that the quick release lever right here, similar to this one, but you'll notice this one's a little bit smaller. This one's really big because you're probably going to use it more frequently if you're raising and lowering that seat, and it just makes it easier for your fingers and your hands. Now, one thing I did notice is that when you're clamping it down, it can collide with the frame right here, so you kind of angle it up. It also kind of gets in the way of the battery pack. If to get this battery on and off, you sort of slide it up and down, and it can collide with that lever, and that's why you see I have it kind of angled up, and that's something I would recommend to you too. So I'm opening it up very easy right there, no problem, and then the seat is just sliding down. Look at that, right? It's perfect. It interfaces beautifully. Now, I had it raised up because I want full leg extension while I'm riding, and I you know, if I'm on this right now, I'm just gonna hop on. So I'm sitting on the frame. I'm not getting that full leg extension. The pedal's like pretty much all the way down right now, and my knees, I'm just gonna be like going like this. It's not a huge deal. I got a throttle, and if I'm riding with someone, it's gonna allow them to sort of be at my same height on the bike, and maybe even a little bit higher. They could potentially see over my shoulder, and you'll notice these pegs, they're even higher than the pedals. So, you know, if the pedal's right here, the peg is even higher at the mid stroke. And I was kind of sitting on this thing trying to figure that out, like, you know, what is this like? And, you know, your knees sort of go up like this. You end up hugging the captain, right? And in a way, it's like riding on a motorcycle. You're kind of hugging them, and then your legs are sort of tucked in, and you're squeezing on the bike to feel stable. You're also not dangling down here and kicking the derailleur, and they do have a derailleur guard, but it just keeps you clear of the drivetrain. So this was thoughtfully done, but it is a little bit of a scrunched, kind of a crouching position when you're on that. The bike is rated for up to 300 pounds max weight, with up to 120 on that rear section. I weigh 135, so I'm actually kind of above the recommended weight, but I wanted to sort of sit on it and show you what that looks like. It's a pretty nice, fun bike, you know, whether it's like a date night thing or you've got kids and you can swap out the rear, you know, extension saddle for a passenger, little kid kind of cart, or maybe you've got the racks or something. A lot of this stuff is interchangeable from the other bikes as well. So for me, they call this a utility bike. Totally makes sense. It's just a fun thing, you know, it feels stable. Of course, there are some compromises with the smaller wheels. They bring the whole bike closer to the ground, but you do have the potential for the pedal strikes and stuff. These are standard 170 millimeter length crank arms, but you'll notice that they've got an aluminum alloy guide on that 48 tooth steel chainring, and that's going to keep the chain from bouncing off track. It's also going to protect it if you do come into contact with like a log or something. So again, the bike sits a little bit lower. You have sort of a higher attack angle on the tires because they have a smaller diameter, but that gives the motor a mechanical advantage. Okay, this is a hub motor. It's not a mid-drive or something. It doesn't really rely on the gear you've chosen. So the standard RadRunner, it's a single speed. And that means if you're starting out and you're climbing something, it's slow and it's difficult. And then once you actually get up to speed, you're kind of going faster than is comfortable. You have one gear and you just got to make it work. Again, for a bike with a throttle and a motor, it's doable, but for something like this, having multiple speeds is really nice. You can more comfortably start and maintain whatever cadence feels comfortable to you. And of course, you can adjust the top speed that the bike supports you in the display. We'll get to that a little bit later, but coming back to the drivetrain itself, I appreciate they got that neoprene slap guard. We've got an 11 to 34 tooth DNP nickel plated freewheel. So it's not a cassette, it's a freewheel that sort of like threads onto the hub here. It's standard 175 millimeter with hub spacing versus I think 167 or something on the standard RadRunner, which is very unique, a single speed. I like having a derailleur being able to shift gear. Shimano Altus is like one step up from the base level in Shimano. It gets the job done, and it's sort of a shorter cage derailleur. It's not going to hit stuff. We've got that nice steel derailleur guard. The drivetrain works, you know, it does a pretty good job. 7 speeds is decent. And then the shifter mechanism, it's what we've come to know and love from Rad and many other brands that are trying to hit that value price point. This is the Shimano SIS indexed like thumb shifter. Now, shifting gears on this bike, you can't do it with your thumb down here. You have to reach way up and kind of push pretty far. It's not the most comfortable, but it does have that optical window that's really big, and it lets you know what gear you're in. And it's intuitive. And if you have gloves on, not like these gloves, but like cold weather gloves that are thick, it's a lot easier to press these buttons than tiny little triggers that might be down here. And of course, the tiny triggers, their housing a lot of times collides with twist throttle housing. So in some ways, this decision, I think it was originally made and may still be maintained because it fits with the twist throttle mechanism very well. Now, this bike is being sold in Canada, where I'm at right now, as well as the United States, as well as Europe, different parts of Europe. And it is spec'd differently for those geographies. So in Canada and the US, it's class 2. It can go up to 20 miles per hour, 32 kilometers per hour. In Europe, they have to take it down, okay, to like 25 kilometers per hour, about 15.5 miles per hour. And it doesn't have a throttle that operates all on its own. Instead, they call it twist power assist, which means if you're using pedal assist, and as long as you're turning the cranks, regardless of whatever pedal assist level you've chosen, the throttle takes you all the way up to the top, like level 5. So it unleashes all the power. you still have to be pedaling. It's technically pedal assist. It's just a quick way to get up higher power. I think that's really cool, and they end up looking very similar. And I think the hardware is actually kind of the same across the geographies. I'm gonna touch on the motor while we're down here. So Rad Power Bikes, planetary geared, 5:1 gear ratio. This is a compact, powerful, sort of wider than average hub motor that I think is really nice in black here. And we've got these thicker black 12-gauge spokes and the branded rims and stuff. It looks nice, and it is pretty powerful, up to 80 Newton meters of torque. Depending on the geography, it's going to be spec'd a little bit differently. So in Canada, 500 watt nominal. In the US, 750, and in Europe, 250. I have been climbing on this thing and, you know, scooting around the dirt and stuff, and it does a decent job. There are definitely hills around here. I'm sort of on the side of a mountain in the neighborhood. I get to do some paths. I get to do some roads and streets. This is probably the most satisfying on the flat roads or the packed dirt gravel trails, and it climbs okay. It's mostly been me on this, but I have had some experiences where I was riding, doing the passenger thing with Mike, one of the founders of the company, you know, about a year ago, 2018, 2019, and it was fun. It worked well. I wasn't like flying off the back, and we had to have some momentum going into the hills, but it is capable. It's definitely, it can take a passenger, and it becomes very capable if you're willing to pedal even just a little bit, especially with a 7-speed drivetrain. So coming back to this version of the RadRunner, it's my favorite. Like, if you live in the city, you live in a neighborhood, you can totally get along with a single speed, but for someone who wants to use it for a few more purposes and actually have a passenger, totally the way to go. And they've even got that clear skirt guard here, which is nice. It's going to keep the passenger's dress or pants or whatever, even your bags, from rubbing on the tires or getting snagged. Same thing up here. I mentioned that chainring guide, aluminum alloy, and it's been keeping my pant leg from touching the chain and getting kind of greasy or, you know, shredded up, which I definitely appreciate. A lot of times I'll actually use a rubber band or one of those straps to keep my pant leg from touching. Really beautiful fenders, 110 millimeter wide, plastic. They're doing a good job. Pretty low back here, actually, so you get good coverage sort of in the front. That's adequate. You might get splashed a little bit on your foot or your shin, and that's sort of the case with fenders. If they go too low, especially with a smaller wheel diameter, they end up striking curbs and stuff when you go off. So there's always a trade-off. They have been very quiet, very solid, which is awesome. Coming back to the headlight while we're up here, it is mounted on the arch of the suspension fork versus maybe the steer tube or the handlebar. So it's lower, and this is unsprung. So meaning that's going to bounce around if you're going off-road, whereas this is all sprung, it's going to have a smoother ride. So frankly, I would like the headlight to be a little bit higher, and you do have to adjust the positioning on the headlight and include like an extender cable if you get the front basket and racks and stuff. So there's some screwing around to do. You know, I kind of get it. We've got this neoprene wrap up here, all these different wires coming from the shifters and the brakes and everything, the throttle. We actually have a threaded, more water resistant, more heavy duty connector for the display. Coming back to the little USB charging port down here. Really, really nice stuff, and it's wrapped well and it stays out of the way, but you can imagine if that light was too much higher, it might collide with those wires and become a problem. So I do want to touch on the brakes, of course. These are the same brakes that they use on most of their bikes, and it's really the one big trade-off for this bike, in my opinion. It's part of maybe what keeps it more affordable, and every time I ask Rad about this, I say, you've got mechanical brakes, what about hydraulic? They're like, well, mechanical's easier for people to adjust, and they kind of like that. And yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more affordable, it's a little bit more accessible to people, and I understand that. We got 4-finger levers, we got a rubberized edge, which is comfortable and warmer. Like your fingers get cold when you touch metal. We got that integrated bell, love that. And then we've got motor inhibitors. So in addition to this first housing right here, this first cable, there's a second one, which is the wire that sends a signal when either brake is pulled that says back down to this controller, hey, we need to stop. And it just completely shuts off the motor, whether you're in pedal assist or you're using the throttle. I definitely appreciate that. The hardware itself is Tektro Aries. You can see the caliper right there. 180 millimeter disc brake rotors, which is great for a relatively small wheel size. These are 20 inches, but 22 or maybe even a little bit wider when you count for the higher volume 3.3 inch tires. So good stuff. It's a really great setup all around, very effective. It's satisfying to use. I think safety is something you'll hear me touch on with the reflective stripes, the nice silver frame, the nice headlight. I do want to comment on the rear light a little bit before we get into the display. I'm going to go ahead and boot this thing on. There we go. The headlight and everything is powered on by default, and we can see the rear light down here. Now, it is tucked down below this passenger seat a little bit, and I know it looks like it's blinking. That is just because the camera has frames per second that are conflicting with the LED. This actually does have a flashing mode, and this is what it looks like. There's a little rubber button on the bottom. We press it. There we go, flashing. So that it's just another way to sort of, you know, let people know that you're here. And you can see this light pretty well from far away, but if you're up too high, it can kind of get blocked a little bit. And if you have someone who has a dress or a jacket or something that's hanging down, you can imagine that just hanging off the back a little bit, and then it blocks the light. So keep that in mind. I have a helmet here. Abus gave me this helmet a couple years ago, and I just really like it because it has like a light built in to the top right here. These are really awesome, regardless of what lights your bike has. Putting something up high to keep people aware, especially if you're a passenger here, and I just want to see people being safe and having fun. But I love that this light is fairly visible from the sides. See, it's kind of shining out, and same thing with the headlight, shines out from the side and just really bright. This thing is quite capable. Okay, so before we get this thing going and we go too much more into the display, I'm going to power it off. I want to show you the battery pack down here. So this has a bunch of different cool modes. We're in power right now, and you can take the key out. You don't need to leave it in while you're riding. You can turn the battery off and take it out. And then that means if someone wants to tamper with your display at the bike rack, they can't. It won't turn on because you physically disabled it. I like that. And then if we turn this, we kind of push it in, twist it, we unlock it. Still, you can take the key out. Now this is the tricky part where we got to slide this battery up and, you know, kind of keep clear of the saddle a little bit, but not hit that quick release lever. So this is sort of the position. I'm gonna do my best here with one hand. There we go, sliding it up and taking it off. 7.7 pounds for this battery pack. It is not super light, and coming back to weight, about 8.7 pounds for that motor. 74 pounds is how much I weighed this with all the accessories and everything. 74 pounds. The original RadRunner was 64 pounds, but again, it didn't have the passenger stuff, the pegs, the fenders, the drivetrain, the suspension fork. So 10 pounds, you know, we're thinking in terms of RadRunner, but this is a heavy bike. Even though it looks small and cute and stuff, it is heavy. So being able to remove that battery to reduce the weight when you're lifting the bike, repairing it, putting it on a car rack, very nice. It's also a great idea if you live somewhere that gets hot. I mean, we're here on sort of an overcast day. It's not too hot out. That's perfect for the battery. You want it dry and cool. Extreme heat can damage the cells over time, which means they're not going to get quite as many full charge cycles. They're just not going to have as long a life. It degrades the cells. Now, Rad Power Bikes is using high quality Samsung lithium ion cells. These are 18650 size, 3500 milliamp 35E. So high capacity, nicer stuff. And the full capacity of the battery is 48 volts, 14 amp hours for 672 watt hours. That's great. That's a really good size. Rad Power Bikes has a new bike that's kind of called the Rad Mission. It's like a single speed city bike, and it's also more affordable, like the $1,000 price point USD. And it has a slightly smaller, like lower capacity battery pack. For a bike that's heavy like this with the suspension and the passenger thing, I'm glad that they went with like the full size battery. That's great. You charge this thing on or off the bike using this really compact, lightweight charger. Only weighs like 1.1 pounds. There's a little plug, plugs into the wall. It's a 2 amp charger. Now, there are companies that have like 4 amp chargers or 3.5 amp chargers. They're gonna go faster. I asked Rad about this too, and they're like, yeah, you know, this is really reliable. It's proven, it's cheaper to replace, and we're kind of like a modular type of company where you get one battery and it works with all our bikes. Even the Rad Mission, which comes with the smaller battery, it can use this full high capacity battery. It's got a little LED charge level indicator on it. You do have to turn the battery on for that to light up, but you press the button and it shows you how full it is. There's the little charging port on the side, as you'd expect. See what else we got on here. Got their logo, and see, that's the power button that I was talking about. That's sort of outlined on the headlight now with the running light. This is what the bottom looks like. 2 fuses, which is nice. So they're thinking about safety. And then there's the pin that sort of plunges out when you lock it to the bike. It's connected on these plastic ridges, and then this is where it plugs into the bike frame itself. What I appreciate is that this rack, this slide rack, is attached in 3 places. It's pretty solid, and just the positioning of the battery on the frame, it keeps that weight low and center like I was talking about. So I'm gonna put this back on the bike and we'll go through the display next. Okay, I brought us to a darker area. You're gonna be able to see the display a little bit better. And I raised the saddle a bit. I do wanna call out the size of that seat post. So that is 27.2, very standard diameter, but it's extra long. It goes 390 millimeters versus 300 or 350, which means that this bike can accommodate pretty tall riders. You could like tilt the handlebars forward a little bit. It's also very approachable in terms of standover, but it has a relatively low minimum saddle height as well, which means you can put your feet down and stabilize the bike, whether you're messing with the display or, you know, dealing with some cargo, some precious cargo, a kid back there checking on them, something like that. So let's get into it. We're going to power this thing on. I already, you know, put the battery on. I turned the key to on. Here is the button pad. I'm going to press the mode button, and it comes to life very, very quickly. I actually turned the brightness up a minute ago in the settings, and I'll show you how to do that, but it's very easy to see, even when you're pretty far back. I kind of like the monochrome displays compared to like color or something. They work well in bright sunlight or in shade like we're here right now. We've got a battery capacity indicator. It's got 5 dots, 20% increments. It's not my favorite. It'd be nice if there were 10 dots, you know, or maybe even just a percentage, like 95%, so you're not left wondering when you get down to that last tick, like, am I at 20 or am I at 0? You know, how far? I don't want to have to pedal this 74-pound bike all the way home. It'd be nice to have a little bit more feedback. And some of the fancier bikes now with Bosch stuff, they even give you like a range estimate. They're a lot more dynamic. So that's a bit of a, you know, it's becoming a bit outdated. Odometer right here. And I think if we press the mode button, yeah, it changes to trip. So odometer and trip distance. We've got speed in the middle. I've got it set for miles per hour, but we can change that in the settings. The headlight indicator, which is pretty cool. If we want to turn that off, we hold mode and up at the same time. Now, I like that it defaults to on, just in terms of safety. It's probably good to be seen on a little bit more compact bike like this. So I'm gonna reactivate that, and you'll see that the backlighting also turns on and off in relation to the headlights. We always start out in assist level 1. The throttle is hot, and interestingly, the throttle's hot even in assist level 0, which is kind of nice. It means you don't have to worry about pedal assist accidentally turning on when you think that you're just using this like a little scooter or something. That throttle is always hot unless you physically unplug it. So you can follow the cable and unplug this if you want to, and then you're no longer a class 2 bike. You'd be like class 1 because, again, 20 mile per hour top speed or 25 kilometers per hour in Europe. So there we go. Pedal assist 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we get some extra feedback here about speed, power, standard, or eco. Those all relate to the different assist levels. And then down here we have watts, and that's sort of like the motor power. You know, how much watts is it putting out? If we hold the up button over here, we're going to get some more readout. So remember, this was just the current speed. Now, if we hold up, it says average speed, and we hold up again, it says max speed. So that's kind of cool. A lot of good feedback from this display. There is also walk mode. If you hold the power button down for a second or two, there we go. And got some friendly people doing fetch with their dog over there. Walk mode's handy for pushing this thing up kind of some stairs maybe, or a hill. Sometimes you can ride up a hill. Other times it's just not appropriate. It's too busy, or you've got cargo and it's not stable. Some people use walk mode. Other people will just use the throttle, like twist it, and the bike kind of scoots itself, which is really handy. That's pretty much it on the display. It does swivel, but you know, sometimes you get glare, so it's nice to angle it and reduce that glare. Not removable completely, which means at bike racks, and if you park it outside, it is just plastic, and it can get some weather and maybe start to scuff up over time. We've still got the scuff protector sticker on this one. It's brand new. So, you know, take that for what it is. It's replaceable. It's still another more affordable modular part from Rad, and it's a pretty standard display. I've seen this on many other bikes. It's called a King meter display. For me, the best part is really just that it's got that cool USB charging port on the bottom. It just gives you so many possibilities. I've seen people put like Christmas lights and stuff on their bike, or Halloween, and just make it a lot of fun. So settings. If we want to get into settings, we hold up and down simultaneously. And we've got several menus here. So 22 inches, that's talking about wheel size here. And we could take it down to 20, but 22 is roughly the diameter plus the fatter tires. So we're going to leave that. We'll press mode to go to the next one. And now it says top speed 32 kilometers per hour. We can take this down to like 14 kilometers per hour or 12 or something, maybe about 7 miles per hour. You can make this go slower, and you might want to do that if you've got young people riding this and you don't want them to get going too fast. Or maybe you want to extend your range, or you're just someone who likes to take it easy and chill out, and 7 miles per hour is enough for you. So that's great. And then up to the 32, that's the 20 mile per hour top speed. That's the legal limit. This next menu, set 3, this is the backlight brightness. So we're at 3 right now. There's 2 and there's 1. So you can see a big difference in terms of brightness. That's handy if it's like dark outside and you don't want to be blinded by the display, but you still want to have the headlight on. You can take the brightness down a little bit. So I'm going to leave it at 2. I think that's good. And then set 4, we can go from miles per hour to kilometers per hour. Just press up or down and it changes that setting. And then set 1, we're back at the wheel diameter. That's it, guys. We hold mode and everything locks in. Now it's time for a little ride test. So I'm going to stow the kickstand like that. Remember, the throttle is hot at all times on this bike when it's plugged in. I'm going to leave the keys on. I'm going to take them off. I don't have to listen to those dangling around. Now, of course, throttle is pretty self-explanatory. It's variable speed, so the further you twist, the more power you get, and it is completely independent of the level of assist, meaning you could be in assist level 2, sort of a relaxed, slower assist level, but then override it with the throttle and get that extra power. That's a really nice setup for me. It gives you, but you kind of have to handle it responsibly. Like, you have a lot of power at hand here, and Rad's done a lot in recent years to sort of ramp into the power. It's not like, woo, it doesn't just take off. It's sort of, it eases into the power. And same thing with the pedal assist. This down here, see that black ring right there, the plastic ring? That is a 14 pulse sealed cadence sensor. It's nicer than some of the other Rad power bikes I've seen that have like a big plastic disc with magnets sort of built in, glued in, or something like that. They're just more external. This thing is really sealed. It's compact. It's not going to get kicked out of place. So when we do the pedal assist, that's what's going on. It's either the throttle or our pedal cadence. It's not measuring pedal torque. It's not measuring like the wheel speed and combining things. It's really just the cadence. So here we go. I'm just going to start off maybe in assist level 3 and pedal along. Oh boy, we got a little hill here. No problem. That was a little bit freaky going down one-handed, and you heard the brakes squeaking a little bit, but they did a good job. They're very powerful. Let's see if we can climb this hill over here. Whoa. Not bad, considering I was seated the whole time and we went over this like little trench thing. You might have heard the tires bang for a second. Yeah, we skipped over that little ditch and we did fine in large part because of these big fat tires. They just give you a lot of stability. It's a fun bike, and it is a capable climber. There are bikes that are, rated at higher wattage, but I think in some ways this is about the geography here, and you are going to have a more powerful bike experience if you're in the US because of their 750 watt rating, but all the motors are rated to 80 newton meters of torque. They are very effective. You've got the throttle. They're kind of doing the best they can. They're giving you the most power for your geography, and it is capable. I might do another hill climb here. There we go. Such a fun little area here. Get that suspension fork in action. You can see the headlight out in front of us. Woo-hoo! There we go. A little forest action. actually pretty quiet considering that, you know, we've got fenders and stuff. I'm not hearing like the chain banging a lot. Maybe it's because of that neoprene slap guard that we talked about earlier. It's a fun little bike. It's very capable, and the tires they're very highly inflated right now for efficiency. It would be a little bit more comfortable and quieter if I'd lowered it from 30 to maybe, you know, 25 or 20 even. Okay, I'm gonna circle this around. Looks like we had some sort of bird accident out here. All kinds of fun things happening in the wild. Okay, so let's try this one more time. We're in pedal assist, level 3. Doing great. That suspension fork is really saving me, adding a lot in terms of comfort. Pretty quiet motor too. Back to the smooth paved surfaces. Wonderful. And if you're wondering about the brake squeak, I've been riding this thing in the rain. I've been going through dust and, you know, all these pine needles and stuff. And when you do get that onto the brake pads, they do start to squeak a little bit. And sometimes there's this like set-in period where if they're brand new and you haven't braked hard, you know, and a lot, then they make that squeak. So that was a harder brake. I stopped more quickly, but I didn't have to worry about sliding out like was the case when I was on the gravel and stuff. Now I'm gonna use the throttle, and I'm just gonna zip us back up through that field that we were in a second ago. So straight away, here we go. Taking right off. Got that little path through the woods. Going a little bit faster here. Whoa, boy, so much fun. And I was getting more power and speed through there because I was using the throttle. So even though we're still in assist level 3, I have access to full power with that throttle, just depending on how hard I twist. Here is a standard hill that most people are probably thinking about in terms of e-bikes. And it's like, oh, can I climb a hill? This would be a lot of work without electric assist. But this bike has no problem. So I twist the throttle, I'm climbing, I'm accelerating up this hill. It's clearly a hill, no problem. Yeah, working just fine. So, you know, for what it's worth, these neighborhoods around here, they're full of hills. There's another one in front of us. Now I'm up to like 15 miles per hour. And that's all without pedaling. There we go, we're almost up it. Okay guys, from here you can see that 48 tooth steel chainring with the aluminum alloy guide, keeps the chain from bouncing off. And then, unfortunately, you can't really see it back here, but this is 1134 tooth. This is DNP, nickel plated. It's just gonna last longer and it's not gonna rust and stuff. The shifting's a little bit smoother, and we've got a Shimano Altus derailleur. Love that they've got the guard, that like metal thing, and then we got the pegs and stuff back here. The goal of this shot is to give you some exposure to the motor and just to hear how responsive it is when I do pedal assist and as I shift gear. So you can kind of listen along for rattling and stuff and just the sound of the motor. I'm gonna use assist level 5 because that's the highest. Awesome. This time I'm just gonna use the throttle. Beautiful. And as you can see, no problem. Like, we're coasting, very stable. Hey guys, it's getting dark. I'm gonna do a ride by, get the third person shots and let you see those lights. So we got the bike turned on down there. That's the mode button, got the display. There's the beam right there, super, super bright. One thing I wanted to mention about the lights is that in addition to blinking mode on the rear, we also have the motor inhibitors that activate brake bright mode. So even if the lights are completely turned off, like if we hold mode and up, we turn them off, whenever you pull the brakes, you still get that extra level of safety because it activates the rear light. I think that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna hand you off. I'm gonna ride by, this is a pretty significant hill here, so check it out. Thanks, man. And it, you know, it's kind of linear, so feel free to just kind of come out here or whatever.
Okay.
I'm gonna start by, I'm gonna coast down and then come back up.
Yep.
Not even pedaling. Now I've done a number of rides on this street going pretty fast, and there are a couple times where I've actually been able to lean pretty far and the tires have held pretty well. So I'm gonna just do some turns and show you what that looks like too. Yeah, it holds pretty well. It's pretty thrilling for it's kind of a different bike, right? It's not like a full-size bike with the big wheels. I think just the round, like extra surface area on the 3.3-inch tires gives you a lot of traction. Just make sure that you raise that inside pedal so you don't get a pedal strike like this if you lean too far. All in all, pretty good. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, great job.
That's it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
I hope that helps you guys out. I do my best to go through this just really thoroughly because I know it is a lot of money and it's kind of a big decision. Is it worth upgrading? What are the big differences? Back at the site, I have a comparison tool. So you can actually put the RadRunner up against the RadRunner Plus and, you know, back to back, see all the details along with any of the other sort of mini bikes or, you know, the utility bikes as they sort of call them. I hope that helps you. I really care about you guys. There's also a forum. You can chime in there and post pictures and updates. But I know it took a little while to get this thing reviewed. At first, we were just going to skip it because this was going to be a sort of a limited run kind of thing. But I guess there was enough demand and people liked it enough that they decided to make it a permanent fixture, which I appreciate. I like the colors. I feel like the price point is worth it. And all of these accessories come installed on it. Whereas a lot of the time, if you buy like a base model from Rad Power Bikes, you kind of get the racks and things separate. You have to do it yourself. They do have a mobile delivery service, like van thing now in major cities that'll actually assemble it and drop it off, which is super cool. Otherwise, they have free shipping in the contiguous US and Canada and parts of Europe as well. They're doing a really good job. These guys have been around for quite a few years now. I've met them in person. I trust them. They have great customer service, but they also sell a ton of products. So there are the odd stories online like, oh, something wasn't right. I feel like they do their best to make it right for people, and that's part of why I cover so many Rad Power bikes. It's because they've got a good price point, but it's still a good customer experience. And if something goes wrong, it's not that much to replace the part and keep you on the trail, keep these things active. So I love you guys. Ride safe. We'll see you next time.